Hello and welcome. My name is Jasmine Keys, and you are listening to Why, How, Impact, the series that breaks down what it takes to be a leader and why on earth they do it. Today's trailblazer is Hazel Mitchell. She's the Senior Director of Global Service Delivery, Global Customer Experience at eBay. Thank you so much for joining us, Hazel.
Thank you, Jasmine. It's a real honor to be here. Thank you.
Before we even start, I want to say congratulations on your 20-year anniversary. How incredible.
I can't believe it myself. I have to say it has gone by in the flash of an eye, but eBay is a special place. And so it feels nice to celebrate the 20 years.
Yeah, and it's pretty rare to spend 2 decades in a single company these days. I guess when you're presented with opportunities that allow you to thrive and grow, why would you move elsewhere? So you worked your way up the corporate ladder at eBay. In fact, you've had 10 promotions in your tenure. You've continued to grow your team and your responsibilities, moving through a number of regional service delivery roles before you landed in your current role as global service delivery and customer experience, where you manage a team of thousands of leaders. So tell us, Hazel, why on earth do you do what you do? What drove you to take on such responsibility year after year?
Thank you so much. Yeah, it has been a great journey, and one I have to say that I probably never expected to have myself. I can't believe really that I've been with eBay 20 years. But you're right insofar as one of my drivers is to be learning and to be growing. And at eBay, I've had the huge opportunity and the huge privilege to do just that. When I joined 20 years ago, I joined as a team leader. And over those 20 years, I've grown to now leading the global service delivery team and having, teammates across the globe supporting our buyers and our sellers to really bring eBay's purpose and their vision to life. So it's been very special. And I think in terms of why I do that, I think eBay really truly makes that very easy. I really truly believe very passionately in the vision and the purpose that eBay has, which is all about empowering people and building communities and creating economic opportunity. And when I think about what that means for me, I think those values are centered around creating more sustainable commerce, more inclusive forms of commerce. And that's really, for me, that's a real personal driver because the opportunities I've had have been life-changing for me and for my family. And so the opportunity that we get to do that at eBay on scale and across the globe is really huge. I think eBay is different in many places because it doesn't compete with its customers. We actually have the opportunity to support millions of buyers and millions of sellers all around the world and to build the lives that they want through trade and through connections and through bringing people together. So it really has been especially powerful. I think the role that I've had the opportunity to play is obviously within our service delivery team. We are supporting the customers. So for me, it's all about people. I've been a people leader all of my time at eBay, and I've been a people leader prior to that about 8 years with Aer Lingus. And so I'm very passionate about making sure that we bring the very best opportunities for our people and for our employees, and that I'm able to create the right environment and the right culture for our frontline teams so that they're enabled to bring their very best self to work, to thrive, to make sure that they're creating the best experiences for our customers. And I get to see that each and every day. So I think that the why is we get a chance to bring that purpose to life, and it's meaningful because it matters to people. I'll give you an example. We had a recent opportunity to go visit with our team in India. We had an opportunity to meet some of our Indian sellers. And one of the sellers was a small enough seller, but one of my colleagues asked him, how did you decide eBay? What does it mean for you? And he talked about the fact that he'd been living in the slums and had started a very small business on eBay. And over the years had been able to grow that to move out of the slums and not only move him, but move him and his extended family to do that. And they were all working for his company at the time and selling and trading on eBay. That's true impact. And they're not edge cases. They're cases that my team get to speak to each and every day, whether it's a seller in the UK or in Ireland or North America that started from their garage and now have, multi-warehouses that they're trading from, to those sellers across the globe. So it's a privilege, and it's an honor to be able to do that and to be able to give opportunities that I've had to my team and to sellers across the globe.
Wow, so much to unpack there. Hazel, one of the things that you talked about is like inclusivity. And it brought me back to the chat we had with another trailblazer, Tracy Sun, who is the co-founder and head of seller experience at Poshmark. And she talked about that opportunity to create an equal opportunity for people to build a business, to support themselves, to support their families, to build a life that they didn't think that they could ever have. And I feel like that's the same opportunity that you're sharing at eBay. The other piece as well around people and the focus on not just your customers and not just your team, but both of those two groups of people and how that drives you to make that impact, to have that positive impact on people. Absolutely incredible. I wonder, as you kind of moved from Aer Lingus into eBay and through these different roles, how did your that why that you've shared, guide you and help you decide which roles to take on?
Yeah, I guess I was very lucky. I think that I always was raised with a strong work ethic, and my parents would have always said, "Do your best, show up as best you can." And that was my intention right when I started in Aer Lingus. And I have to be honest, leadership positions found me. I always had a very keen interest in people and connections and collaborating, and I think it was a natural step. And I was lucky, I think, that leaders right through my career have seen in me maybe skills that I wasn't confident enough to see in myself. And I've always had sponsorship and mentorship and people saying, "We think you might be able to lead this space, or would you like to, move to a more global role? Would you like to lead in this region, etc." And I do relish a challenge. I like being put in a position where I'm a little bit nervous and I'm a little worried as to whether I'm going to do it. And I felt like I could do that easily at eBay because the culture at eBay is very supportive, and it really does encourage you to develop and to learn and to grow. And it's a safe space to try things and to innovate. And so I've been so fortunate along the way that I've had the opportunity to do that. And I think that was important for me. I always wanted to be moving and growing and learning and doing new things. And I got that opportunity at eBay. And I got that opportunity over the last 20 years. When I joined eBay, I joined as a team leader. And I've been able to move through the ranks with the support of the leadership team in terms of, development programs and sponsorship and mentoring and coaching. And that is hugely important to me. And I like the opportunity to be able to think about, how do I share that? How do I pay that forward? How do I build a team that also works to make sure that everyone and all of the teammates that work within the eBay network, that they get the very same opportunities, that they get coached, mentored, developed along the way, so they thrive and they get to be part of opportunities that maybe they wouldn't have imagined for themselves along the way. So for me, it's really important. And we do that by helping other people. And that's why eBay makes it easy. I think that's really, really powerful for me.
That's how to retain someone for 20 years. There was something you said there, Hazel, about leaders seeing something in you that you didn't see in yourself. And that's something that we've talked about a bit. It kind of touches a little on imposter syndrome, potentially, a little bit on just building your confidence generally, potentially as being a woman in the workplace. But how do you do that for the people in your team? How do you point out those things that they're really good at and help them to grow and develop their strengths and work on their weaknesses?
Yeah, I think that's really important, because I want to be grown. I want, and I want growth. I want someone to tell me where I have opportunities to do better. I have a pretty high bar for myself, so I'll hold myself to a high standard. But I do look for that feedback. And I think what's important is, I think about how I lead. Is you have to prioritize really strong relationships, and there's real power in connection and having authentic relationships with people to really understand what is someone else's why, what drives them, what are the things that they want to do, what are the things that really inspire them to get up every day, and to have the same appetite for work or the same appetite for growth. And some people it's learning, and some people it's the opportunity to pay back, and some people it's I want to do something that's more innovative, I want to do something that's more strategic. So I think it's a really helping unpick that for somebody and get underneath that, and really understand it. And not only what do they want to do, but also what are the areas they're nervous about? What are the areas that cause some worry or concern, so that you can really lean in there and look for opportunities to help test that, to give them safe space, to try things, to innovate, to create, I think, team interdependence. So you're putting, specialists together and people who can learn from each other and learn. I don't have to be good at everything. I just need to be collaborative. I need to be able to listen to other people. I need to be able to lean on people with other skills. And that's how we're all going to grow. How do we have team interdependence so that we all get better? And so that collaborative approach, I think, that really understanding people, really taking the time to see what's behind the words and what are people worried about? How can you help? How can you lean in and give coaching and give support? Development where it's important, or maybe just stretch, and giving people the opportunity that I've been given, helping people along the way, really important. And I value the opportunity to do that. And I think what I value in people is having that willingness to learn, having that willingness to innovate. And I see it as our job as people leaders to make sure that we help our team just do the very best work.
Yeah, that curiosity is a word that's come up a lot in the series as well. Finding people with that curiosity, being curious yourself, and that is what spurs you on to learn and grow and develop. Um, you sound like a very empathetic leader, Hazel. How would you describe your leadership style?
I think I would say that I have a very high sense of responsibility. I really try, I think, to lead with compassion and to lead with, I guess, fairness. Fairness is important to me. I want to make sure people are treated equitably. You talked about equity earlier, and that is really important to me, that everyone gets the same opportunities, everyone has the same opportunity to drive to their full potential. So they are important to me. I think it's key, I guess, that I show that every day. And so I mentioned I had a high bar. I think I would spend time thinking, how did I show up today? Where could I have responded differently? When we think about responsibility, I try and take a moment to say, how did I show up? Did I jump into that moment? Did I assume the team needed me to answer, as opposed to sitting back, and really truly listening and understanding what did the team need, from a service perspective from me in that moment. So I think that's the way I would describe it. I'm always trying to improve that. I don't think you're ever a fully formed leader. I think there's always opportunity and a constant struggle to get it right. And you talked about curiosity in terms of, is my style working for that person on the team? Do I need to just, amend what I'm doing? Do I need to think differently about it? So it's a constantly evolving style, but it is based on working with people, in collaboration with people, and really trying to unlock the very best, so that as a team we show up in a way that's important for our customers.
Yeah, it's interesting. I ask everyone, what is your leadership style? But in reality, I think what I'm finding is that, yes, you have a leadership style, but the way that you lead depends on the people that you're leading. You have to be adapting to each individual person because they have different needs and different drivers and ways of responding to certain situations.
Exactly. It's so situational. And you think even in every moment, different challenges, different goals, different meetings. It's so situational. You have to be able to take a pause, maybe not jump to your initial conclusion, because we all bring, years and years of experiences and assumptions to the table. And so what I'm really learning over the last couple of years is take a pause, take a minute. How do I want to respond in this moment? And how do I make sure I'm doing that the very best way I can?
That's a really good point, your evolution of your leadership style. I'm sure, in the 28 years that you've been leading people, that it has evolved. And I guess I wonder how has your leadership style evolved from day one people leader to the Hazel Mitchell we know and love today?
It definitely has. I think, and every year you set yourself a development goal and think, these are the things I'm going to really fix for myself this year. I think if I look backwards, I think my my natural style was always to jump in, and I would never ask someone to do something that I wasn't willing to do myself. And sometimes that got in my way, because I think that the shadow side of me having a high responsibility drive or accountability drive was that I often jumped in to resolve or solve for my team, but it just wasn't necessary. And I wasn't giving them the opportunity to grow and develop and to take, to take license and to take responsibility for their decisions. So I think I learned in obviously a number of years ago now, that I had to really stop and think and evaluate what's the best for my team. What do they need from me here? There's times they might need me to help, pave the way, and there's times they might just want me to listen. And so I've gotten better at that, I think. But there's so much I still want to do as a leader. I think, every day I think, did I show up the way I expected today? Did I show up with a you know, compassionate heart today? Did I show enough curiosity? Did I make assumptions? And I'll take time at night to say, where could I have improved? Where did I miss an opportunity to do just that today? And I think one thing I've gotten better at is, I used to be pretty hard on myself, and I would have created stress for myself trying to be the perfect leader. And that just doesn't exist, right? So I've gotten better at maybe having a bit more patience with myself and saying, well, what am I going to do with that information? I'm not going to show up that way tomorrow. That's all I can do. I can't change it, or that meeting's over. But I do think, next tomorrow I'm going to take a pause, and I'm going to make sure I show up in a different way. And I think that's specifically important, Jasmine, as we think about what's going to be required from us as leaders in the future, because the world is just a really uncertain place at the moment. I think we saw that through COVID-19, and especially when you have a big team, and especially when you're dealing, on a global scale, there's just a lot going on in the world. There's a lot of uncertainty, and people are dealing with so much more than they bring to work every day. And so for me, I think it's going to be really important that leaders, and as we think about how we lead in the future, that we really think about that, because I truly believe that employee expectations are changing. They're expecting more from their companies. They're expecting more from their leaders. And I think that's actually going to grow. And so what we're trying to think about in eBay is, how do we help there? How do we really figure out how to give the very best support to people, and not just from one lens perspective? How do we help them from a mental health well-being? How do we help them from a financial well-being? How do we support their growth, their development? How do we create opportunities for them to give back and to do good in the world? And we're leaning in. We have a new role, which is really exciting, called human potential. And it's exactly that. It's, how do you unlock the very best human potential? And how do we help people with all the challenges that they're facing in the world today, so that we can really help people, I think, develop high performance habits to help them not only in work, but that they can take out, they can take home to their families, they can take to the way they want to show up in the world. And I think that's going to require continuous focus from all of us as leaders as we go forward.
I think you're absolutely right. Employee expectations are changing. Generally, society is changing, the way that we see the world, what we expect from the world, from each other, from our leaders, constantly evolving, and as it should be, and as it always will continue to. Speaking of the future, I would love to talk about your legacy, and I feel like we've touched on so many bits of it already. But before we even go into that, I want to know, what is the most proud moment of your career? What really, was a spark for you, something you think about when you've had a not so great day? What brings you that joy and excitement?
Look, there's so many, as I say. I never imagined to be in this position. I think the first one that really comes to mind was when we introduced remote working, and that was back in 2017. So that was probably the first time that I really led a very innovative initiative. At the time, remote working wasn't a thing for us, but I knew there was opportunity. We knew there was opportunity. We knew we had talent. From a diversity perspective, that just didn't sit within a commutable distance to an eBay site. And that was important, because to create the very best customer experiences, you need to have the very best talent. And also it feeds into our purpose. So we have these communities of people that just don't live within an eBay site, and we want to make sure we're able to create economic opportunities across the world. So we launched remote working in 2017, and it was very, very new. And it really challenged our way of thinking, because we really had to start from ground zero. We really had to say, we have to rethink everything we do, because if it doesn't work for our virtual teammates, it just doesn't work. So we really challenged ourselves to innovate and to think differently, and to, to move quickly so that we could prove that this was important. And thankfully we did that, because it turned out to be the cornerstone for the support that we were able to move to when COVID-19 hit. And now, like, the vast majority of our teammates across the world work remotely. And so that for me was a huge one. I think the other one that I would say, which is maybe a more recent one, and it maybe talks to the great people that we have again, we launched an initiative in 2022, and it was called GCX for Good. So GCX is Global Customer Experience, and then for Good. And this was an initiative which really launched at the time in reaction to just all the crises that were going on in the world. And we created an opportunity for our team to give back, and to show up for our team, whether that be fundraising for causes that were important to them, whether that be, doing things in aid of the planet, whether that be sustainability or soil health, etc. But it's really about, how do we take all of the opportunities where people wanted to be able to give back and wanted to be able to do something nice, and really put framework around that so we could scale it, and we could help educate people on the opportunities that were available, and people had a space to come and talk about causes that were close to their heart, and to get support from some of their colleagues. And that has gone from strength to strength. It's so amazing. You should see it today in GCX. We're a big chunk of the eBay workforce, but we comprise of over 60% of all the volunteer hours that are done at eBay. So we absolutely, hold our own in terms of how we're showing up for eBay, how we're showing up for communities across the world. And I get a proud feeling every time I see someone else. Like, it just seems to have gathered momentum, and now the teams are doing it by themselves, and that's just huge.
Oh my gosh, Hazel, that sounds amazing. And to have that impact on a huge team is absolutely incredible. Thank you. And
It's the team. It's absolutely the team, but to see it grow in that momentum is just really powerful.
yeah. Okay, well, from that, I mean, that's already such an incredible legacy to be leading, but what do you see as your legacy in the long term?
I don't think about that too often, but I hope that in future years, people will say they were enabled by some of the mechanisms or support that we put in place, that they felt that they were able to do more, they were able to pay it forward, and that builds momentum. That would be enough for me.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Hazel. What an impact you've already made, but also a legacy to leave. I think it really is about those little things that we can do as a leader. And like you said, you have been afforded the opportunity to influence and to make an impact. And I think that is and can be a really big but beautiful responsibility. So thank you so much for joining us for Why How Impact today.
Thank you so much, Jasmine. I really appreciated the opportunity.
And congratulations again on that 20-year anniversary. eBay is incredibly lucky.
Thank you. You're so kind.
And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in to Why How Impact. This is a weekly conversation with our 2024 Trailblazing Women. So make sure you subscribe and tune in next week as we continue to explore what it takes to be a leader and the powerful why behind it all. Until then, keep striving to find what motivates you and pay it forward when you get that opportunity. My name is Jasmine Keys, and this is Why How Impact. We'll see you next time.